Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 2 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I have news out of Rocky Mount where a man is now facing murder charge after being arrested in connection with his past weekend's double homicide in Virginia Street in Rocky Mount. Bernard Smith has been charged with the murder of Loren Dickens. The 27-year-old Smith is being held in the Edgecombe County Jail without bond. Now, Dickens and Rio Steele were both shot at around 3 a.m. on Sunday. No one else has been charged with Steele's murder, with police saying some details are being withheld to preserve the integrity of the case. Anyone with information on the murder should call police at 252-972-1411. And we also need to check in on the massive fires engulfing portions of the Grand Canyon. NBC's Steve Patterson has more from Arizona.
Yeah, active firefight in and around the park. Those two fires still burning, largely out of control. The White Sage Fire, the larger fire, burning more remotely, more to the north, now crossed over 50,000 acres. The Inside Fire, the one that has caused all the damage, smaller fire, the Dragon Bravo Fire, now burning at 8,500 acres. That exploded a few thousand acres over the last few days, destroyed 70 buildings, including some of the buildings that park employees called home. They had to pick up and leave essentially on a dime, but were able to evacuate. No injuries, no deaths in either one of these fires. Firefighters, they'll want to keep a perimeter, want to start building a perimeter, 0% containment in total. The North Rim, meanwhile, during peak fire season, shut down for the rest of the season. Only about 10% of the visitors to Grand Canyon National Park actually go to the North Rim, but is still, of course, a vital piece of the local economy. Park officials I'm speaking to say this will absolutely hurt the entirety of the region. Meanwhile, there is now an investigation into the management of the fire. Federal managers wanted to let the fire burn. We're hearing now burn for days before they put any suppression. And of course, the wind shifted and it burned into that North Rim. There will be an investigation. The governor calling for that as this firefight continues. Send it back to you.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that report. We now turn our attention to your forecast where spotty showers and thunderstorms are becoming a little bit more common across the east. We're seeing some of these thunderstorms really develop with the amount of lightning strikes being generated out of a few storms in particular. Going to zoom in on some of those storms right now, kind of between Old Ford and Terracea in northern Beaufort County. We've got a nice collection of lightning strikes around, again, a thunderstorm that is continuing to work its way northward. Could impact areas right along the Martin-Washington County line within, give it about the next 10-20 minutes or so. But this isn't the only system, again, we've got our eyes on. There's another system right now heading its way just off to, well, if you're watching from Riverbend, you're saying, all right, well, Charlie, it's raining right now. The heart of that system, though, is just off to the east of Trenton and just off to the west of Riverbend. So kind of in between those two areas, and it's moving northward towards Vanceboro. It does look like, again, we'll see some heavy showers across northern Craven County here for the next, give it some time, at least the next 45 minutes or so. Now, again, we'll zoom it a little bit further to the south. Not a lot of developing storms right now over Duplin and Onslow County, comparatively speaking, but we do have rain action. That is very much apparent when we zoom the picture out, that we have got rain stretching from the Albemarle Sound all the way down to just north of the Wilmington area, just north of Cape Fear. Now, air temperatures currently reading mostly in the mid to upper 80s. A few of us hanging out in the low 90s, 90 degrees currently in Kinston as well as Greenville. New Bern, 79 degrees, noticeably cooler because of the rain showers. We've had several rounds of rain roll over central Craven County so far today, and that's why air temperatures just really not all that impressive for New Bern, or I would actually consider them to be very impressive. I would love to see 79 degrees outside right now. Should make it, again, a little bit more bearable, but do note that humidity remains high. Now, through tonight, A lot of the showers and storms will start to fade away as we get later and later into the evening. I think by the time it gets around 7, 8, 9 p.m., a lot of those showers and storms will be diminishing and falling apart, leaving us with a fairly dry outlook for most of the overnight hours. Waking up early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m., and nice and dry, only to see another sea breeze front form and give us another round of rain through tomorrow afternoon. Now, those showers, again, not expected to feature any sort of severe weather impacts, but we could have a few rumbles of thunder as those showers and storms develop. Now, Thursday is going to be a little bit of a quieter day, but right now we still are anticipating maybe a few drops of rain on Thursday. Certainly more heat on the way over the tail end of the week. Now, the area of low pressure you're seeing back towards the west near Missouri and Illinois, that is a system that's going to be falling apart not only as it approaches the mountains, but even more so when it tries to move over the mountains. It's not easy for, again, a lot of these dying systems to make it over the Appalachians, and well, that's exactly what it's going to try to do coming up later on this week, right around midweek. And as that happens, again, we may see a little bit of extra cloudiness in the skies, but we're certainly not going to be seeing any sort of weather threats to eastern North Carolina based on that system. Now, the area of low pressure you saw near the Gulf Coast, well, that is being tracked by the Hurricane Center. They're giving it about a 40% chance of tropical development over the next 48 hours and over the next 7 days. Good news is, whether or not that system forms into a tropical system, so long as it's in the Gulf, it will not impact eastern North Carolina. Unfortunately, it does look like it will be impacting specifically areas around Louisiana later on this week. We shall see if it gains enough strength to become either a tropical depression, tropical storm, or perhaps worse. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully it just stays as a low pressure system, a rainmaker, and doesn't create the kind of havoc that we would see from a stronger system. But again, only time will tell. 94 degrees on Thursday, 95 on Friday and Saturday, and it's that little bit of extra heat there on Friday and Saturday, coupled with higher humidity, that it forced us again to highlight those days as first alert weather days. We've got, again, high heat, but also a high heat index, a high feels like temperature, and that does matter. Again, the humidity makes it harder for us to cool ourselves down, and that's why it feels so much hotter out when the humidity is high than when it does when it is low. So again, for Friday and Saturday, do be aware that it will be hot, could be dangerously hot, especially if you are heat sensitive. So make sure you have access to air conditioning, or at least a good, reasonable way to keep yourself cool over at least that 2-day, possibly 3 to 4 day stretch. Thursday and Sunday are going to be hot as well, but I think the real peak heat comes on Friday and Saturday. Well, that's all we have time for today's 2 p.m. news and weather update. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful Tuesday.